if you feel needed.
Hey, Matt, are you social distancing?
Behind the times. Bringing back 2020. I don't have a keyboard.
I'll get one. You'd be dangerous with it.
Welcome, everyone. Southern Shores Town Council. If everyone would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks very much. It's great to see everyone. We're normally just a few of us here, so this is fun to see a nice crowd of folks. If everyone just would take a minute for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just want to say our council member Paula Sherlock is not with us this evening. She is watching online, so everyone wave to Paula. Hi, Paula. And she could be here with us, but she was not able to attend tonight. Council, can I have a motion, please, to take up the consent agenda, which consists of minutes, the Gov and Education Access Channel proposed budget, and a budget amendment. That's the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions about the consent agenda? We're all ready to, I'm sorry?
Well, the agenda's ahead of it.
Oops.
We can vote on this and then
I'll
back to
backtrack.
the
Sorry
agenda.
about that. We'll do the vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Excuse me for the skip over the agenda. Any amendments to tonight's meeting's agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now, we've done away with all of our agenda business. Presentations. I'm very happy, pleased and proud to introduce our police chief, David Cole, who's got some really exciting stuff for us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. What I'll do first is Richard Diener, front and center, please. These are their bios, so don't blame me. Just up in front of everybody.
Congratulations.
Hi,
Welcome.
good.
Richard resides in Currituck. We will not hold that against him. Just kidding. He's originally from Morgantown, West Virginia. Parents are Richard and Diana Diener, sister Renee. He graduated from the West Virginia State Police Academy in 2011. Went to work with Westover, West Virginia Police Department from May of 2011 to August of 2012. Then he began his career with Morgantown, West Virginia Police Department from August 2012 until November 2021. He was a field training officer, law enforcement instructor. He was promoted to patrol first class in 2015, and he was promoted to a sergeant in 2000. Then he started with the Southern Shores Police Department in December 1st of 2021. So we are very appreciative to have Richard. Thomas Long, please.
Hey, Thomas. Good to see you. Absolutely.
Thomas also resides in Currituck, not with Richard. Just want to be clear. Thomas is a native to the area. He grew up across the bridge in Currituck County. While in school, Thomas was an active Boy Scout with the troop. He also achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. After graduating from high school, his church, while living in Eastern Europe for 2 years, Thomas became fluent in Russian language. After completing his mission, Thomas attended Brigham Young University in Idaho, where he met his wife, Sasha. Bachelor's degree in plant and wildlife ecology. Thomas returned to his hometown and joined the law enforcement community as a deputy in Dare County. Sasha and Thomas have 2 wonderful children. Sophia, she's 4. Colson, who is 1. Of all the things Thomas has done and seen, he considers being a husband and a father to be his 2 greatest accomplishments in life. So, very nice. Richard, but he goes by Rick Newell.
Hey, Rick. Good evening.
Good evening, welcome.
Good.
Rick resides on Duckwoods Drive in Southern Shores. His wife, Chrissy Newell, she's an elementary education and a reading specialist. They've been married for 26 years. Has a son, Ryan, 23 years old, graduates from University of South Carolina in May. Daughter who is presently here, Caitlin, she's 20, 2 years in the University of South Carolina, and is currently the University of Southern New Hampshire. She relocated here in Southern Shores with her mom and dad. He was born and raised in Horseheads, New York, which is very familiar to me. He received his general studies through SUNY Corning Community College and continued his education in Keuka College, majoring in criminal justice. He's been a police officer for 26 years, started his career actually in Fairfax County, Virginia. Then he moved back to Horseheads PD, and then for a while was working with the city of Elmira Police Department. Mountain bike officer, a defensive tactic instructor with Horseheads team. He joined the New York State Police in 2002, worked in patrol, also worked as a school resource officer and a physical fitness coordinator. He was promoted to sergeant and ultimately retired as a station commander of Troop E, Zone 3, which is Western New York, in 2019. He moved to South Carolina and joined the City of Columbia Police Department, where he was assigned and pretty much ran the basic cadet school as their coordinator. And he was certified as a taser instructor, offensive tactics instructor, firearms instructor, and special skills instructor. So I welcome to all of you, the 3 newest police officers, and we're going to swear you in right now.
I mean, don't run off.
When you're young is in Utah.
You want to go up there and hold it?
Where? Really?
For
Oh,
all
we
of
need
it.
to talk.
I didn't know that.
Really told him
Southern
it was
Idaho or
crazy what he
northern?
had to be doing.
All right, we can just.
Where?
Southeast.
Oh, in Southeast, Twin Falls. Okay, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. That's good. You
Are
shot
we
the
ready?
IGA there?
Please state your name.
Richard Newell.
Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will endeavor to and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that you will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that you will not be influenced in any manner or account of personal bias or prejudice, and that you will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of your office as a law enforcement officer according to the best abilities of your skill, judgment. So help you God. Well, welcome.
Smart. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for being here. Absolutely. Thanks for being a part of our team.
Thank you.
Future ones there.
So I guess we'll move on to the rest of our meeting. Our first staff report is from our Deputy Town Manager and Planning Director, Wes Haskett.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Have a report for y'all tonight for the month of February. With respect to permitting, there were a total of 49 permits issued. Those consisted of 10 zoning permits, 21 building permits, 14 trade permits, and 4 lot disturbance stormwater management permits. The total amount of permit fees collected in February was $16,773.80. With respect to the town planning board, they'll be meeting here in the Pitt Center on Monday, March 21st at 5 p.m. The board will be considering ZTA 22-02, which is a zoning text amendment application submitted by Quibble and Associates on behalf of Gene Guy LLC to amend Town Code Section 36-207, C General Commercial District. They will also reconsider ZTA 21-08, which is a zoning text amendment application submitted by the town to amend Town Code Section 36-165, regulations governing signs. And this comes from, if you all recall, as directed at the November 9th council meeting when you all considered the sign ZTA, and staff requested that you all send it back to us to make some further revisions and come back to you. So they'll be considering it that night as well. And then lastly, time permitting, may consider ZTA 22-03, which is a zoning text amendment application submitted by the town to amend Section 36-175, wireless telecommunication sites, facilities, and towers. And that's in regards to small cell wireless facilities and poles as they are, and how they can be permitted or should they be permitted in the town right of way. Any questions?
Any questions for Wes?
No. No.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Cole?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Southern Shores Police Department's monthly report for February 2022. As you can see, there were 1,394 calls for service. As far as incidents, there were 7 of those, which resulted in 14 actual criminal offenses. There were a total of 4 criminal arrests with a total of 8 charges. As far as the written citations that were handed out, there were 15 with a total of 20 charges. There were warnings that were issued. There were 49 of those for a total of 54 charges. And we had 1 ordinance violation, which was parking in the right-of-way. And we had 2 motor vehicle accidents for February. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I got one under citation. It has blue light. I don't understand that.
Citations.
Possession of
of
blue light.
Blue light.
Yeah, it was someone that was pretending to be a police officer, but wasn't. So we arrested him. Gave him a ticket.
He had the blue light. Did he have it on the outside or on the dash?
I'm not sure. Do you recall, Deputy Chief? LEDs that he was using.
Oh, okay.
So, good question, though. Any other questions, comments? Mayor, what I'd like to do is hand out our annual report.
Okay.
And I also have our first quarterly newsletter that will be going out, just to let you know and let the public know. It'll be on our website. Sheila's going to send out the newsletter starting tomorrow through the town. So we'll have it accessible on both the police department's website and the town's website. And we'll also have hard copies on sale at the police department.
Get another book. And we got a few trees we can donate.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, sir.
Meet you halfway.
For the record, Paula, I will give yours to Sheila.
Thank you.
This is the police department quarterly newsletter. We at one time were doing these all the time. And we were running out of stuff, so we're gonna try to at least continue to do this quarterly.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We'll hear from our Fire Chief, Ed Limbacher.
Good evening, Council. The fire department for the month of February. 3 structure fires, 1 brush fire, 15 EMS calls, 1 search for lost person, 2 electrical problems, 4 service calls, and 6 fire alarms for a total of 32. And that is behind last year. Last year was 42, so 10 behind. But I will tell you this, we had a meeting with Jack Scarborough and we redid some of the dispatch for the department. So we're not getting dispatched. All the departments aren't getting dispatched for some call that's grass burning 20 yards from a house. We narrowed that down. So the numbers probably will be less this year as we move through. So any questions on that? Pretty simple this time of year. So
that effort was, whose idea was it to redo
I
the?
was really all the fire chiefs
Okay.
because we're moving a piece of equipment for a call that's basically handled with a can, if that. You know, it was kind of silly.
Okay,
So just as time moved forward, we just, need to reevaluate things and change gears sometimes.
gotcha. Yeah, seems like it'd be more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you want to move all that equipment if you don't necessarily have to. So,
Right. Very good.
all right.
What's service call other, what's that define?
This month, it's really a makeup of any time Matt and I are working, we'll do things from wheelchairs on Saturdays, we deliver them. It could be address signs, smoke detectors. This month, it was 3 address signs and in one house with 5 smoke detectors. So we don't do that for oceanfront rentals and things like that, but for our residents on the west side that are maybe elderly and don't have an infrastructure, we'll go in and pull their smoke detectors for them if they call. So we don't do a whole lot of them, but when they call, we feel like,
Call for help.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you,
So-
Chief.
All right.
Any questions for Ed? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you do. Town Manager Cliff Ogburn.
Thank you and good evening. Just a couple of things I wanted to present. First, we'd like to be able to schedule the pavement preservation, the remaining construction calendar, be able to present to you the bid package at your March 15th workshop. If that's, if we present the bid package then and we add anything that you'd like to see added or any clarifications, then we should be able to advertise this construction bid advertisement on March 18th, pre-bid meeting on March 24th, open the bids on 31st. And in anticipation that we'll get 2 bids, we've built in a re-advertisement on April 1st with the bid opening on April 12th, review and recommendations on the 22nd, and then bring to you on your May 3rd meeting a contract for execution. And I believe you may, at the March 15th meeting, right now this is all we have scheduled, but I think the attorney may have something to add as well. The other thing I wanted to mention was I was contacted, and I think the mayor was too, about a week ago from a freelance journalist from Chapel Hill that was became interested in the formerly used defense site, the bombing range. And there's, you know, you're well aware of this, the 50-acre site that was used in the 40s and turned over in, I think, 1945. There was a report done in 2007 commissioned by the Army Corps that listed some concern about some potential contaminants in the surface, groundwater, and soil. And there was a subsequent ProPublica story that lists all, it's called Bombs in Our Backyard. And it's if you go onto this website, you'll be able to see almost every bombing range, the practice facility that was ever used. And in that study, it lists some constituents of these munitions that, while they were small amounts measured, the study that the Corps did in 2007 determined that that the risk was so low that any cleanup is scheduled until 2046, if then. And so what I told you, or what you're aware of, is the concern about the munitions are so small, and you know these you'll see these bombing ranges all over the country. The Corps essentially does some type of a triage, and they hit the areas of most concern first. And we're scheduled in 2046, which is the same time that the consideration for any of these chemicals would be considered. So, you know, after talking, I didn't know this, and I felt like I needed to share this with you because I hadn't shared that side of the story before, and so that's why I'm sharing it now. I have reached out to North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, their water section, and they put me in touch with the folks at the Superfund, and I just wanted to try and read this. And the acronyms that the Corps uses are 3 pages long, so I'll try not to butcher this. But as you know, Southern Shores was a 50-acre tract of land used as a bombing and rocket target range in the 40s and released by DOD in 1945. The Corps conducted a site inspection in September 2007 that included 10 surface soil samples. The environmental sample indicated no human health screening levels were exceeded, and slight exceedance of 2 samples above the ecological screening level. So they evaluate ecological risk and the human risk. So, and coupled with the fact that no reported munition has been found since 1993. We're now 80 years since this range was in use. So in 2046, this may be something that a manager standing in front of you telling you the results of the latest study. But until then, I just wanted to make sure you're aware. Thank you. Thanks.
Cliff, real quick, if a resident has a question or concern or anything, they're welcome to give the town hall a call?
Yes, we can provide them with that 2007 study and
Okay.
point them to the ProPublica report.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
One question on the bid. If we only get 1 bid, do we still have to go back out again?
Yes, sir. And we built that in. We built in another week for re-advertisement. So we should still be able to get you a contract at your May 3rd meeting, if I've got that date right.
Anyone else have questions for Cliff? Thank you, sir, very much. Appreciate it. Our town attorney, Mr. Ben Gallup.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a couple of items on the agenda here. The first one is the discussion about the remaining nourishment easements. There's a handful left. I think Mr. Ogburn expects a handful of the handful to come in before too, and that may leave us with a few that we need to push to the next stage and take into a litigation type posture at least. So at the mid-month meeting, I'm going to have a resolution in front of you to just authorize us to go ahead and do that. It's part of, if we get there, something that we have to attach to the lawsuit that we would file. But otherwise, we're trying to narrow it down, get as many as we can, and then start doing the title work to get the information necessary to put together lawsuits and maybe send some letters in the meantime. Continue communicating in the meantime and see how many we can get voluntarily and then go from there.
Is that all part of the quick take process?
In this case, I think that my personal opinion on the law is that you have the authority to do the nourishment project without using eminent domain. Currently, that has not been confirmed by a court. It may be before too long, but it has not been confirmed by an appellate court, at least. I've had a trial court confirm that at one point. That being said, given that it's not absolutely clear, we would file the lawsuit to essentially quiet title and get a declaration that the public trust easement that's there gives us the right to maintain it. And if not, to, in the alternative, condemn via eminent domain and use quick take to take whatever rights we do need or whatever rights a court says aren't covered by the public easement that's already on the beach. So it would be, it's kind of a mixture between a quick take action and a declaratory judgment action to determine what property rights might already be there. And just for spelling it out to people quick, isn't much different than a regular eminent domain case. It's the authority so that when you file it, you already have possession, and then you're just dealing with whether or not there's any just compensation, if there's any ultimately due. And then a regular condemnation, there could be the question of whether or not you have authority, and it would you'd have to wait till they answered, and sometime in the future determine whether or not you could possess the property. So if you're doing it right before a project, quick take is very helpful.
Is this whole process going to delay any of our beach nourishment process or
It should not.
project?
It should not. Any other questions on the nourishment easements? And then let me turn my phone off. I think somebody's calling me about my car warranty here. The next thing is the Mid-Currituck Bridge. I don't have much of an update other than I've been in communication with the North Carolina DOT Council, who is litigating the case, and he's let me know where it stands and kept me up on scheduling information. The way this works is the parties will file what's called a joint appendix, which is kind of a reduced amount of the record that gets filed from the trial court. And that's due March 29th, 2022. Then the plaintiffs in the case, the appellants, which is the Southern Environmental Law Center folks, their clients, their briefs are due at the same time, March 29th, 2022. And then the briefs in response to that will be due April 28th, 2022. And if we get involved, that's when we would, that would be our time frame for filing an amicus brief. And then following that, the other side will have 21 days from the receipt of that, from whenever the parties file that second brief to respond again. The most interesting issue at the moment is that the Federal Highway Administration is the primary party to the lawsuit, defending the lawsuit. The DOT is who we're used to dealing with, but they're both parties, and the Federal Highway Administration is really the primary party, because it's their permit and their process that's being challenged. And the way the Highway Administration does things is they have a different group that does trial court and a different group that does the appellate courts. And so there's not a continuity between the two. And I'm waiting to figure out who the appellate lawyer is going to be so that I can talk to them about the advisability of filing an amicus or not, and whether or not we would be helpful to their case. So once that person is determined, I'm hoping to get in touch with them and get some more information on that.
Any guesses as to when you might identify who that person is?
Before April 28th.
Before April 28th, as much as we can before April the 28th.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I don't expect it to be too long. I suspect that there's just a transition period between those two, and now that the courts issued it. The last time I was at the Fourth Circuit, I don't recall them issuing a scheduling order. Normally, it's just by the rules. There's certain time frames. So since they issued a scheduling order, I'm assuming that's going to trigger somebody to get involved.
Okay.
And I've followed up with the DOT attorney, but I just haven't heard back from him to see if he's figured out who the Highway
person is.
Administration attorney is going to be.
Okay.
I just have a question. If the court rules in the favor of building the bridge, does the plaintiffs have the right to appeal to the state Supreme Court? Or does it
Not to the
stop
state
there?
Supreme Court. This would go to the U.S. Supreme
U.S.
Court.
Supreme Court.
Okay, well, do they have that privilege?
They have the privilege. The way the U.S. Supreme Court works is there are no guaranteed appeal. I'm not going to say, in this case, I'm sure there's not a guaranteed appeal to the Supreme Court. It's a discretionary appeal that you would file and essentially beg the Supreme Court to take your case, and they can say yes or no. And then if they say yes, then you would go through the appeal process with them. Yes is a rare answer from the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ben? Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. We are into the point of the meeting where we have general public comment. I think there are some people who have signed up. Thanks, Sheila. Thank you, Leo. So, Anastasia Ferlano? Yes. If you'll just, welcome. If you'll just come up to our podium, state your name and give us your address. And we, again, glad you're here with us tonight.
My name is Anastasia Ferlano, and my address is 11 Blue Bee Court, Southern Shores, North Carolina. Good evening to the Town Council of Southern Shores, Mayor, and good citizens of Southern Shores. I would like to take this opportunity to address you regarding a very important and timely issue. The issue I would like to present today is regarding the unprovoked attack on Ukraine by the Russian military. My name is Anastasia Ferlano, as I mentioned before. My husband, Ron Ferlano, our nearly 2-year-old son, and I are residents of the town of Southern Shores. My husband is the owner of Doug Deli in Duck, and I am self-employed in the town of Kitty Hawk. I have been a member of the Outer Banks community since 2012. Our community is amazing. As you know, people here are kind and helpful. I feel overwhelmingly blessed to be a part of this community and to be able to raise my son here. I was born and raised in Ukraine. My family is in Vinnytsia region, Ukraine. It is 6:04 p.m. here now, which means it is 1 a.m. in Ukraine, Kiev. And this marks day 7 of the brutal Russian attack upon Ukraine and her people. My family is busy making camouflage netting and welding tank defense hedgehogs, as they call them, having to take breaks to hide underground because of air attack warnings. My family and the Ukrainian people, as a population, are proud and determined set of individuals. And right now they're fighting the fight of their lives. Their actions and the actions of free people all over the world will determine the fate and the outcome of this conflict. I would like to present this opportunity to the community of Southern Shores to help and donate on behalf of Ukrainian people and the cause of democracy. We, Ukrainian community of the Outer Banks, are developing a GoFundMe page, which should be active and approved within another 2 days. This effort will directly support citizens of Ukraine who are being affected by the conflict. The money raised will go directly to purchase medical supplies, food, other humanitarian supplies as needed to help people in the conflict region to survive and then rebuild. Rest assured, this fundraising effort will be kept transparent and all the monies raised will go to intended recipients. I know an overwhelming amount of people, both business owners and ordinary citizens, are ready and willing to help out with this important cause. Please help us help our global neighbors and your own neighbors, as there is a significant community of Ukrainians now living on the Outer Banks who all have families in the conflict region. I appreciate your time and attention to this matter. The Japanese writer Rinosuke Satoru remarked, individually we are one drop. Together we are an ocean. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lorelei?
Wow. Good evening. I am Lorelei DiBernardo. I live at 32 9th Avenue in Southern Shores. And I'm here tonight representing the League of Women Voters of Dare County. I'm here to present the 2022 Citizens Guide. Woo woo, right? Pretty blue. Your guide to community services. Complimentary copies of this guide, published by the League since 1988, are distributed annually to government and business offices throughout Dare County, and it contains contact information for local, state, and national offices, governmental agencies, also has voting information and emergency numbers, and oh so much more. Our guide is published under the auspices of the State League of Women Voters Citizen Education Foundation. On the back of the cover, you'll find acknowledgement to the municipalities, local businesses, and others that donated generously toward the publication expenses. Southern Shores is listed on here. Thank you, and thank you to all staff members who helped update the information for this year's version. We are currently distributing 6,600 copies of this guide from Duck to Hatteras, Roanoke Island to the mainland. And you'll find them in libraries, post offices, the Balm and Pheasant centers, as well as town and county offices. We, the League of Women Voters, are a nonpartisan political organization encouraging the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We seek to influence public policy through education and advocacy, and this guide is part of our commitment to provide pertinent information to voters. Don't forget, the primary election is May 17th this year. Membership in the League is open to anyone of any voting age, male, female, students 16 and older may join free, and new members are always welcome. We thank you for your support, and we know you'll find our guide useful.
Thank you, Lorelei, and thank you for all that you do for our community and all that the League does for our community. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Hope you are.
Mr. Steve Gudis? Welcome, Steve.
Welcome, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and Council, everyone concerned. I'm very happy to announce this, a happy announcement. I'm very happy to announce that the Southern Shores Historic Flattop Tour is back after a 3-year hiatus. Our last one was 2019. A quick review of how this happened. In 2009 or 10, somewhere around there, a person donated or bequeathed the Flattop House right next to us here at 13 Skyline Road to be used by the Outer Banks Community Foundation, and with the stipulation that they had to support it. So there's a fund. Dawn Enoch of Manio jumped on it. By 2011, established the Flattop Preservation Fund. And this is not a club where you get a bunch of money where we're doing things. It's a fund to maintain 13 Skyline Road, pay the bills, the upkeep, and everything from that. So from this, in 2013, I own the Flattop. I'm sorry, Steve Gudis at 156 Wax Myrtle. Owned that Flattop, got together with a couple of their Flattop owners, said, let's have a tour of the old houses. There's only so many left. Unfortunately, there's only 25 left. Anyhow, the tour is on the 30th of April this year, a little bit late. We'd like to thank the town, particularly in the notice that's been the last several biweekly notices that the town sends out. We have been featured in there. There's a kind of a nice poster that's around where distributed places. And Chief Cole, you and I will get together and talk about the parking, which is always seems to be in control. A few houses that are on the west side of Ocean Boulevard, we usually can get parking across the street. And fortunately, most homes on the tour are in a crescent that starts off with our home on 156 and works its way down to Ash Pipkin's historic and beautiful home, Pink Perfection. And we've got 13 houses on the tour, and it's a lot of fun. It's only $10, 2 for $15, and they're available at our house that day or at 13. And so we're looking forward to a good time. Southern Shores was late coming to the table for historic preservation. Everybody knows that. However, with the impetus of several people, this is our 5th tour, and everything that we make goes to this Flattop Preservation Fund. And we're very proud of that. And I thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to a good time very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Can I leave this with this slide?
Absolutely.
I think we left one already. Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. At this time, I'm going to call just a very brief recess, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry. Don't blame my surgery.
You're gonna get kicked out.
I know, and she feels bad about that.
She could have flown up for the night.
I know.
Not too bad.
We all ready, Sheila? Okay. We're back in session. Thank you for that little break. Next on our agenda is old business. Resolution in support of the Mid-Currituck Bridge. It's on page 10 of our package, council.
Yep.
So it's ironic that Councilmember Sherlock was unable to be with us tonight. She has been leading the charge on the Mid-Currituck Bridge. So let me just read this very quickly. We have a draft resolution supporting the construction of the Mid-Currituck Bridge. It's been very many years since a resolution in support of the bridge has been approved. Now that the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of North Carolina has ruled that NCDOT and the FHA complied with applicable federal laws and regulations, and with the council's continued efforts to finally get this bridge built, adoption of a new resolution seems appropriate. I have actually, in the last month, received a verbal commitment from the mayors of all the other towns in Dare County, as well as the chair of the Dare County Board of Commissioners, that they will support and basically do their own individual resolutions after we approve ours tonight. I am going to also, I've already reached out to the Currituck County County Supervisor Ike McCree, who lives right here in Southern Shores, and hope to talk to him tomorrow. I want to recognize, before we go into the meat of the resolution, Wes for just a few minutes, because he attended the Albemarle Regional Planning Organization meeting, or actually he Zoomed. And if you don't mind, Wes, just sharing with us what you were able to accomplish for the town while you and Paula listened into the RPO.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. The Albemarle Rural Planning Organization held their latest meeting on February 17th, I believe. And on the agenda was consideration of it's an annual consideration, it's an annual topic for their legislative priorities. The ARPO is made up of two bodies, the Rural Transportation Coordinating Committee and the Rural Transportation Advisory Committee. And I am a member of the TCC. Councilmember Sherlock is a representative on the TAC. And every year, both groups consider what the legislative priorities are in the region. This is the Albemarle Commission. The ARPO consists of 10 counties, 10 member counties in this region, and it addresses and deals with transportation, all modes of transportation in the area. So at this meeting, they were considering legislative priorities, and one that we were able to get added to this year's list of legislative priorities was to continue to support the construction of the Mid-Currituck Bridge. And they did adopt that and consider it as part of the list, legislative priorities. It's one of 9 priorities. And I've tried to find out before this meeting today if and when there's going to be a legislative meeting that's held with our state legislators in the area to discuss the priorities. But I have not found out if or when that meeting is going to be held at this point. So if I do ever hear, I'll be sure to let you know. And all elected officials are invited usually to attend these meetings as well. I believe one of the last ones they held was at the Museum of the Albemarle in Elizabeth City. So I'll try to keep you all posted on that. But I was very pleased that we were able to get that on the list.
Yes, thanks, Wes, for that effort, because it was not on the list until Wes pointed out that it needed to be on the list. So again, kudos to you. Job well done. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very much. Council, just for your information, my understanding is that all of the whereas paragraphs are the same as the one that was done many years ago, except for language that our town manager said has been approved by the Turnpike Authority, which is contained in the last couple of paragraphs. Whereas the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of North Carolina ruled in December 2021 that NCDOT and the FHA have complied with all applicable federal laws and regulations in planning for the bridge. And whereas the court's decision properly affirms the project's compliance with the Federal National Environmental Policy Act. Therefore, be it resolved that we will have this resolution. Any discussion about the resolution? May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council, very much. Appreciate it.
In our briefing for this resolution, it says, to encourage other towns in the county, and you've already started that. I would also encourage to get private organizations, business community in the Outer Banks. They can also add on to the resolution as well.
That's a great idea. Thank you for saying that.
Chamber, realtors, tourism board.
Absolutely. Yes.
I know
We'll
it's
add,
not
we'll,
business.
we'll add that to the list.
Yeah,
Thank you, Matt.
every
Appreciate
group
it.
we can.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Next on our agenda is Chief David Cole. Consideration of potential scholarship award for a police canine. I think that's on page 11 of your package, council.
I got my own.
Oh,
Yeah, there's another one here floating around.
and also supplied here on the
Which
table.
one is right?
I don't know.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. First, I want to introduce Officer Zach Eanes. Just a little bit of history. Over 3 years ago, I had to ask him, time goes fast when you get really old. Over 3 years ago, he had approached me and showed quite an interest in having a canine. And of course, I told him probably one of the only ways to be able to justify it is that if we could fund it somehow. So over those 3 years between himself and I, we've done quite a bit of research, tried to find some funding and those types of things. So what I wanted to do is pretty much just give you a rough idea. This is, I know it's hard to see up there, but all I wanted to do is, obviously this is just estimated, but I wanted to give a breakdown of a budget for a canine for a police department. In the first part of that, you see the one-time expenses. It's a total of about $7,200, and that's a one-time expense for those types of equipment that we would need. And then from there, it would be approximately $5,800 a year in total to maintain and take care of our canine. That would include the vet, the food. I asked Sheila contacted our insurance company as far as liability for the dog. It would be approximately $200 more a year for a canine. And we would also, just so that you understand, we would, before anything was done, we're obviously going to have a very comprehensive policy and procedure. John Leidy, one of the town's attorneys, has already helped me immensely in putting one together in the event that we need that. So what I wanted to do is just to give you a rough idea. This is a rough idea of what a budget would look like for it. These I'm not going to read. You've had it ahead of time so that you could read it. But what I had asked Zach to do was to put together some justifications on why and what we would use a canine for. And that's pretty much what you're seeing up here right now. This is presented by Officer Eanes. One of the first grants that we had applied for, this was about 2.5-3 months ago. We requested, it was a $30,000 grant. And that was through the Canines for Cops. We have heard nothing. Again, it's 2 or 3 months ago. We have heard nothing regarding that grant. Second grant that I had ended up applying for was through the National Associations of the Chiefs of Police. And that was another grant for another $30,000. And that was for the K-9 and the training and equipment and certifications, just like the other one was. That was also about 3 months ago we applied, and we have yet to hear anything from them either. And then the next one I filled out was through the Governor's Crime Commission grant. And I applied for $18,475. And the reason I did that is twofold. There was a cap of, I believe it was $30,000 for that grant. But I only wanted and asked for what I needed, hoping that that would help. Two problems with that. One is I've grants through the GCC several times and been very fortunate to receive some. But this one is a little bit different because this year they're pushing two big things that we really can't compete with. One is state and federal accreditation for departments, mostly your bigger cities. They're the ones that can afford to do that because it's a full-time job for at least one individual to maintain the accreditation. So they're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars from this grant to that. And the second thing that they're funding is human trafficking. So that I'm hoping that we'll get something, but I honestly don't know. We won't know till at the earliest October, probably more like November, December. So that was a grant that we'd applied for. Officer Eanes comes to me and says, there's a scholarship for a K-9. Is it okay if I apply for that? And I've always said, you won't get it if you don't ask. And he applied for it. I gave you a copy ahead of time today of 4 or 5 page letter that Zach wrote, because I wanted you to hear it from him. He's the one. I had 2 K-9s back home, and it's one thing I will tell you is you got to have the right person that really has the drive and really wants to be a K-9. Zach has proven that. You can tell by the 5 or 6 page letter that he wrote. So he did, and we applied, and 2 weeks later, we got notified that we had been awarded the scholarship. And Academy. Did some checking with them. I had shared with some of you, they're located just west of Chesapeake, so it's only about an hour and a half away. And I'd shared with you, I have a very dear friend that I went to rookie school with, and he was a K-9 back home, and upon retiring, he trains K-9s and K-9 handlers for a living. He's very familiar with this outfit. They're instrumental in training dogs for West Point, NBA, Miami Dolphins. He says that if you get a dog from them, you're going to get a very good dog. And believe it or not, Kill Devil Hills, their last K-9, I believe, came from this same coast, just west of Norfolk, Chesapeake area. I give you the handbook, some of the student guide, and I had given you this ahead of time. This is just some of the general information. But what it entails is a couple of things. We received February 17th when they scholarship. We really wanted a lab, but that just wasn't in the cards. They didn't have any of those available. But it's a full scholarship for $19. That includes a green dog that has not been trained yet. And it includes 8 weeks of training, certifications, national and state certifications that Zach and both the dog will receive. It includes free room and board. There may be a minimum of $25 a week for the cleaning fees, which is about $200 for some of the equipment that would also be needed with the dog. It would not be a bite dog. It would not be a vicious apprehension dog. It's pretty much what we're looking at is article searches and missing persons, and those types of things. We want the dog to be able to take it to Kitty Hawk Elementary School and be able to take it into the first grade class and be able to sit down and have the kids pet it, you know, and interact with it. So that's what we're hoping for. Again, the value of this scholarship, it's $19,600, and that includes the 8 weeks of training and certifications for both the dog and Zach. This is a picture of the dog that is a toy in its mouth. It is not someone's foot. It is a mix. It's 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. It is a mixed German Shepherd and Belgian Malinois. It's on site as we speak. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have or concerns.
Chief, I was just going to ask you to share with us what other jurisdictions nearby already have a canine capability?
Zach?
Dare County Sheriff's Office currently has 3. They've got 2 in training that are graduating here, I think about a week or so. Nags Head has 2 still currently. Kittle Hills has 1, and there's none on the north end of the county of Kittle Hills.
Okay.
Everybody except for the Dare County Sheriff's Office has 1. That's a lab. It's a bomb dog. But in the 8 years I've been doing this, that is the only lab that's been in Dare County. Everything else is a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois.
Okay. Thank you.
One of the other things I want to tell you that as far as the justification, I know that Zach had hit on it, but very seldom do we get lucky and have the Kill Devil Hills dog available. We make a lot of traffic stops, and as you will see in the annual report, we've made a significant increase in drug arrests, but that could be even greater. But the problem is that by statute, we only have X number of minutes to conduct a traffic stop. So if the officer smells something, has some kind of an inkling that there's an issue, if the dog isn't available and can't respond within X number of minutes, then we can't utilize it. 90% of the time, if not more, that's usually the problem here is they're most of them are down south of us. And by the time they get up here, you know, we have to let the driver go. So. Yes.
Where will the dog be housed or run?
At the Hilton. No. The dog will be with a handler, which is Zach.
Okay.
It'll be at his house when it's not in use. You know, it'll have its own kennel and that type of stuff. He'll be responsible for maintaining it and those types of things. As the attorney knows, we're also going to take care of making sure that he gets X number of hours to satisfy Garcia laws for maintaining and taking care of the dog as well. But yeah, it would reside with Zach and his family.
They're basically a dog for life with the handler. I mean, I've got a good friend whose son had canine, and when they retired, the canine went with him.
Yep.
And he retired from the police department. Can any of these grants piggyback? Could they piggyback? Could you get notice in the fall from North Carolina?
The first 2, I'm not confident we're going to ever hear anything from because they were national.
Yeah.
The governor's crime one, what I'm hoping is that if you accept this tonight, I'm going to contact my grant manager and see if I can edit some of that so that we can maybe curtail some of that and maybe utilize some of that towards next year's budget for the canine for some of the equipment and types of things.
Offset costs, some of
That's
the
correct.
ongoing costs or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Officer Haynes is off duty, what does the canine do?
So I'm sorry, I can say.
If you're off duty, what does the canine do?
So I can't speak for everybody. A lot of agencies when they're off, they still do at-home training. There's mandatory 8 hours a month that you must train that for the dog we're looking at. It's not an apprehension dog. So a lot of times at home, your days off, you're working on obedience to keep those skills.
Well, would it be available to patrol officers that are on duty?
That's something that the chief would address.
Yeah, we're going to have that in policy. It'll be available, especially for anything that's real bad that happens. From experience, I had 2 canines at my other department. And what happened was we had 2 of the best canines in like 4 counties. And I got to the point I couldn't afford to keep paying the canine handler to come out for other people's arrests. Look, if it's a missing person, it's a big drug deal, or someone's hurt and been shot or whatever, he's already on the way. But the policy will address that, so he will be available specifically, especially for our officers if they get something. But it'll be his call as well. And he will do a lot of training. I've budgeted, in that budget, there's budgeted training. NAG's had their canines actually go up and work with Virginia Beach once a year and get some of their certifications. So, my experience has been the more that dog is worked and trained, the better it's going to be. So we're going to make sure that it's pretty much nonstop with that. And then he'll be working with and training with the other canines here in Dare County as well.
Any other questions for Chief?
The scholarship, sorry,
sorry.
didn't mean to interrupt. The scholarship covers the acquisition of the dog and some general equipment, but there's still $7,150 one time and $5,800 a year annual. Is that still a fair
correct.
assessment of the additional
It
cost?
is.
Okay.
The biggest expense is the insert for the car, because it's not just for the canine, but it's also, it's partitioned off so that we can put a prisoner in the other side and keep it safe.
You don't keep them with the dog?
Well, no. This dog will not be aggressive. We had one back home.
Get their attention.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to sit next
Does
to it.
that mean you'd rotate the car though? You gotta have the barrier, you'd have to rotate the car out. To the officer, if another officer is with the dog, he'll always be with the dog.
He'll always be with the
That's
dog.
right, when he's out.
And part of the policy will be same as it was back home.
Yeah.
If we're searching for a bad guy or something, another of our officers, because we're going to have them train with him, another of our officers is his cover. He watches and works the dog. The secondary officer covers him. Yeah. And the vehicle that he ends up with, that's his vehicle. As clean as you want to keep them, it's still going to be a canine car.
Is there an average service life for the animal? They
It all
retire
depends. Some places like, Raleigh or that are high, run the dog all the time, their life expectancy is a little bit shorter. You can get about 9 to 10 years. I mean, here we could probably exceed the 10-year mark.
Okay.
Because Raleigh, they're up, down, running around and chasing, but here they get a pretty good life expectancy in Dare County compared to County.
And then as Mark said, if you retire or leave the force, the dog might follow you.
Let's put it this way. Here's the deal. That dog is
10 years.
the property of town of Southern Shores. Now, 10 years from now, and it's ready to
Oh,
retire the policy that we're putting together is going to give him the first option. Or if it becomes disabled or something like that. I mean, that does happen sometimes. We had one of our Belgian Malinois, the problem was we had a four-wheel drive SUV, which shouldn't have done. But that dog was constantly jumping out of that and it messed up its hips. So we lost that dog after about 7 years because of that. Those are good questions.
Any other questions, council?
Nope.
The grants that you've applying for, you're not optimistic with the $30,000 or the $18,000 one you might be optimistic about?
Yeah, I won't know until maybe November at the most. This is the first year though. I've applied for those grants every year for whatever. That's how we got the body cameras, different things. This is the first year I've seen it where they're offering big places like Raleigh and Charlotte $400,000 grants to do federal accreditation, state accreditation, and the human trafficking. While there may be some here, not enough that we're going to get any. So a large chunk of that money is going to be gone. Whereas last year and the year before and the year before, not so much. What I will tell you is that I'm hoping that you'll approve this tonight. This all happened really quick because their class starts next Monday.
Wow.
13 or 17? 17 dogs that they're going to be certifying and training.
Did you say the county has 2 dogs?
Dare County has,
Dare?
Dare County has, I think, 5. When everybody's graduated, Currituck's got 6.
Okay. Is any of the Dare County dogs in District 1?
District 1 is up on the north end.
Yeah.
So there is one that is called A District that's stationed in Collington.
Uh-huh.
That is the only one.
That's the only-
So she flops back and forth. A lot of times they have to actually stay back in Collington. So that kind of goes with Silver Hills. If she's not working with the only one, or
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, and this time of year is so-so, but I'll tell you what, in the summertime, trying to get somebody real quick, forget it. It's just not gonna happen.
Possible.
One more time.
One more time.
Any other questions?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Discussion, council? Anybody have any thoughts?
I personally think it's good. I've seen other police departments in other locations I've lived, and they've had canines. In some smaller communities, I think it adds an element of safety to the city. And I think it sends a good message to the population here. And, I think it sends a message to the tourists as well, that we're watching out for them and we're trying to be careful, make sure they have an enjoyable time as well. So I'm not in favor of it.
Okay. Leo?
Well, I think with the trend of more and more drug trafficking that they have to investigate, they need another tool in their box.
Yeah.
And I believe this would be something that they could use and maybe start short-circuiting the drug traffic.
Very good. Matt?
I had a canine dog attack my dog about 15 years ago, so I'm not as on key with it. So I had to kick the crap out of the dog.
Well, who was on the leash?
Neither of them were on the list. It was down by Coquina Beach. But anyway, they were doing a traffic stop, and the dog took off from the traffic stop and went after my dog. But I'm not negative on this training facility, but I wasn't as impressed with that dog's training. But let's put it that way.
Or the fact that it was not on leash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have gotten away.
Yeah.
On the leash, but
Pulled off.
Anyway, I mean, if Chief Cole, you think it's an asset to the department? I mean, I keep thinking $130,000 life cycle costs, and where's that going to come from?
I do, and to be honest with you, the opportunity like this is, I was dumbfounded.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to try and do canines, and we were never fortunate back, and we paid for all of our own. And this place comes with high marks.
Yeah.
It would definitely be an asset to the town of Silver Shores. And,
Can we charge other towns for using it?
I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, ducks dress up the road. They have their issues too. And Kitty Hawk.
And you don't think it'll be a resource drain on y'all for him to have to respond to other towns' requests?
No, because it's gonna be in policy, there's gonna be limitations on what he can respond. They get a car and there's drugs on it and he's at home, he's not going home.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, he's just not going. If it's a big drug deal where they've been working, that might be one thing. But to be honest with you, by the time he gets there, there's
The time is expired.
depending on where it is, that's right. I mean, if it's here to sell the shorts, it's not a problem. So that's gonna be very limited, and we're gonna monitor that anyway. Because I told you from experience, it got to a point where it was out of hand. With how many times a week our canines back home get called up. They were good canines, but it was just too much. So I can assure you that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that was it's not just a canine, it's you losing the officer off the patrol too.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate Officer Eanes' comments. I mean, he's done a lot of work trying to put it together. The penny pincher in me wants to say no.
Well, I will say this, our community is, just like with fire response, we are, because we live so close together, we tend to tag team when appropriate. And I certainly think there's some opportunity for, relationships between town police departments, improving, because we now have an asset that perhaps another community might want, and so forth and so on. So I do think there's a benefit to that down the road, but I do get the idea that, it's not free. It costs time, it costs resources of Officer Eads,
Well,
and commitment, and also budget.
Yes.
So I will tell you this, I shared with Chief Cole earlier, going to events at PNC Arena when there's a service that that the arena management takes care of, where they have a dog handler and a dog who walks around everybody that approaches the arena. And if there's any kind of tension in the group of people outside of the arena, it immediately changes once that dog gets there. It's a definite effect.
Yeah.
And the handler knows what he's doing. The dog definitely knows what they're doing. It's very effective. It really is. So I'm a dog person. I wanted something that wasn't this particular breed mix, but it's not got any training on it. So we're starting from ground zero. The dog's 2.5, so that's a good age to start really doing some heavy training. So I support it. Are
So
we ready to vote?
When you go to training, you're gonna be
Do
there
we
for
have a
8 weeks
motion?
straight every day,
Yes, sir.
and then you come home with the dog.
Yes, so it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It's broken up by hours for obedience is so many hours, tracking so many hours, narcotics, and at the end, you actually have to pass a state federal test to be able to even graduate.
And then the dog comes home with you.
Yes, sir. Then we'll come in the streets. Yes, sir.
Make
These
make
dogs
it
are-
friendly for the kids.
That's right.
They are amazing because I'll speak as a
I've seen army dogs that are
frequent
impressive, don't get me
traveler who has
wrong.
gone into countries where they tell you not to be carrying fruits and different things and to have the dog chase you down after you've gone through immigration. In Johannesburg is not as eerie and you go, oh God. So the dogs are, and in Australia you could find, the dog found an orange in my bag one time.
Oh my.
So I had a fine. So they do work, but they were nice dogs, but I didn't pet them.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, I appreciate all the work you put together. on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I commend you for all the
A lot of detail.
interest and the effort that it took, and how quickly they responded. It's jaw-dropping
Yep.
how quickly. So, and you'd be off next week. So, anyway, council, ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor of accepting
Was
this?
there a motion?
Oops. Can I have a motion to, let me get the words right. Approve the acceptance of the scholarship from American Canine Interdiction Training Academy in Carsville, Virginia.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have another
Another presentation.
presentation, and this one I believe is by our Deputy Chief, John Slagle. Consideration of mobile message board. And we are on page 28 of your packet.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I actually have another PowerPoint to hand out to you all. It's just if you noticed, the speed sign was put up on South Noble Trail now.
Yep.
So I actually put those numbers.
This is different.
This is actually going to be a
Okay.
different one now.
Different.
It looks the same, but the graphs are different. because I
New,
wanted to
improved.
do-
You got actual?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I did a different one because we put it, if everybody's seen it on South Dogwood Trail, we put it up there for a week, so it had some longer time that we could study it
Mhm.
a little bit. But first, I want to kind of go over the radar trailer. When we heard there was interest in that, we went and looked at several options and narrowed it down to this one. It's made by Stalker Radar. The reason we're going with this one, we kind of know the company. They deal with our radars in our cars. Also, it would be serviced locally if something happened to it with the company that already builds our cars. There's a built-in radar display inside of the unit. As you can see, it comes in two sizes, a 4x8 and a 3x5. We would be getting the larger size, which is the one on South Dogwood Trail now. Some of the nice things about it, there's 200 factory installed messages already. So anything from pedestrian crossings to construction, it can be used for. Public Works could use it if they could block off streets. So there's multiple uses, not just for the police department. There's over 60 factory installed signs, which means like road closed signs, not just that it says road closed, but for people that couldn't maybe possibly read, you can put up signs like left turns, no left turns, different things like that, and they don't have to read a sign. And then we can also pre-program 100 programmable messages in it. So there's a lot of things that can be done with this. It could be used for speed enforcement, construction, special events like our fall carnival. We could put it up and use it there for crossings. Hurricane evacuation, which is another great thing we could use it for. If we have to evacuate areas, Anastasia County for one, we have our own. And also our campaigns, which Officer Eanes is also in charge of, is a Booze It or Lose It and Click It or Ticket. He's the Governor Highway Safety Representative for our town. So we can use this, put it up on 12 for different things like that. So there's a lot of different functions we can use it for. If you go over to the next page, what's nice about this unit compared to some of the other ones we looked at, it actually has a full-size keyboard and display on it for its. It had 4 cycle batteries. A lot of them only had 2. I've had it out there all week and it hasn't been the sunniest days and I've never lost anything on the charge. I've gone out there and checked it and it stayed, but it also does have an charger if it's needed inside. So if there's the guy said usually it would last almost a month, but if we had a month of cloudiness and it did drain down, we could actually pull it in. I'm sure you all have seen it. I come from my house down on Dog Island.
Yeah, you can't
see
miss it.
right away. One of the biggest features about it that we liked the most was the 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Some of the other ones we looked at, the trailer, they would do a year because of salt air and different things. And then the programmable signs were only usually 2 years. So they're going to cover it 100% 5. The only thing they do is we have to transport it to where it gets fixed. The good part is, again, as I said, those guys fix our cars. So they're down here once a week. They can pick it up if something does happen to it and take it back to their facility in Virginia. So that's a big selling feature about it. It's also rated up to 60-mile-an-hour winds. So if we do have a hurricane approaching, we could leave it out a little bit longer. And obviously we'd want to get it in once it's going to about to hit so we don't get it ruined, but it is rated up to 60 mile an hour. Some of the things I wanted to show you, there's a lot of things that we can create in this program. I'm going to touch on a couple of them, but there's a bunch of reports we can run with speed in here and traffic counts, which is really nice. So we put in a certain area that people are complaining about speeding. We can pull up different reports. We can also create our own and go really, really into depth. I haven't had a chance to do a lot of that yet because there's so much stuff this can do. But one of the reports is right here. As you can see, it gives you the location. So as soon as I put the location in here at 93 South Dogwood, it gives me a map. So this gives you a nice presentation if you ever want to present anything. And then it'll break it down to, so as you see the vehicle count for this week on Bellevue was 6,988. I actually checked this against the signs we already have. So it's going to be a little bit different. So we actually took both of them down at Duckwoods Country Club, the one north, and it was right in the middle. So it was pretty accurate. As you can see, it has south and north, how many vehicles going each way. And this is the pie chart it breaks it down to. I know it's hard to read, but this is actually the pie chart version of it. I kind of like this one. And it shows, what I did was I set this radar trailer to excessive speed was 35 miles an hour. So in this pie chart, I made a little bigger one for everybody on the next page. Oops, sorry. So we can read it, but only 2% of the vehicles were excessively above the speed limit. So 2% of the vehicles were going over 35. So this kind of gives you a good sense to everybody. If they do say there's an issue, you can put this out and say, this is what we got. Now, over the speed limit, moderately above the speed limit, as you'll see in a couple charts from now, that does between 26 and 34 miles an hour. As you'll see a couple charts from now, which we'll get to, most of the vehicles were between that 26 and 30 miles an hour. There was over 200 vehicles. And then when you jumped up to that next speed, between 30 and 35, it was only down to 40. So you could show people, hey, we only have this many vehicles doing between 5 miles an hour to 9 miles an hour over. So it could really cut down some complaints if there is not speeding in that area, or if there is speeding. You can, next one was southbound traffic only. So you can actually break it up, which is nice. We sometimes on some certain roads, like when I set it up on East Dogwood Trail, you'll notice more of the speeding was going down the hill. And that, obviously that's going to happen going down the hill, but this is about the same vehicles on this one. Excuse me, keeps jumping ahead. Only 0.8% of the vehicles were excessive speed when they were heading southbound. And that makes sense because they saw the sign and the other way was a little bit more. So which is nice is you could actually set parameters. If some roads excessive speed might be like out on NC 12 or 158, 10 over, a lot of people do that. You could set it actually at 15 miles an hour. And then this pie chart would change if you think 15 over is excessive. But on South Dogwood, I think 10 over is excessive. So that's why it was set there. To break it down a little more, you have this chart here, and this is what I was explaining, where if you see the vehicles from 25 to 30 miles an hour over, that was most of the vehicles, that's where it was when people were speeding over the speed limit. So if you have, just say, go down to 10 o'clock to 10:59, you had 207 vehicles actually going between that 25 and 30 miles an hour. But only 22 vehicles, or excuse me, 30 vehicles, excuse me, were going 31 to 35. And then only 4 actually went over that 35 miles an hour. So that shows, like, a lot of times we'll get a complaint, oh, people are doing 50 miles an hour. And this is something you could actually print out and show them. We did this, and you can run this thing stealth. So I could turn that off and just sit it there, and it'll be counting. But it won't give anybody any warnings. And sometimes that's good a couple days, just to see the complaints, just to see where you're at. And then this breaks it down into the one-way traffic, like you can do with everything else. This is actually, I ran this on the 26th, so this was actually Saturday. So you could only see one day to see what the traffic volume was and also the cars going over the speed limit. One of the nicest reports I actually liked, which I found a couple days ago, and I added this to the packet, was speed enforcement report. So I could sit this out there for a week, run this report, and it'll actually tell me what times is the best for us to run radar on the street. So that is really nice. It calculates all the times that people were speeding and different things, and then we can kind of focus to our enforcement actions on that street.
Like, it says revenue per hour.
What?
It says
Revenue chart.
per hour.
Revenue chart.
Yeah, except we
Oh,
don't
revenue
get,
chart?
we don't get, we don't get.
No,
the
that's
town
what
But we
doesn't
don't
get
get the
the
revenue.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, you can put it over in Spindrift.
So anyway, I think this would be a great asset to the town to have something like this. There's multiple uses for it, not just for the police department, but Public Works can use it for road construction. We can use it for hurricanes, and we can use it rather than trying to borrow the counties all the time and just have it in our, and the warranty on it's great too. So we're kind of covered for 5 years, which I really like because the salt air down here.
One of the biggest pluses with this compared to most of them that we've seen out there, this does both ways, east and west, north and south, so it does both
Okay, I was
at
wondering.
the same time, and then we can break it down from there. So the other ones.
So where would you place this on the weekends in the summer?
In front of my house.
One of the reasons we're really pushing it now instead of later on in the budget.
Yeah, I could go into that. The guy that right before the interest came about for this, he actually met with us a month and a half before that and brought it and showed it to us. And we were pretty impressed with it, and he left, and he had 5 at that time. They're allotted a certain amount per area. He covers South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. And so he brought it here, showed it to us. So as soon as I found out there was interest in it, I contacted him and I said, hey, can you give me some pricing and different things? And that's when he said, I'll give it to you for 3 weeks. So he brought it, but he said, I only have 2 left at the time. And the one that's sitting on Dogwood is actually sold. That's Wrightsville Beaches. So I said, can I leave it there? And he said, yeah, you're good to go. I have 1 more. So the price on it was $20,000 for this unit. And he cut it down to $16,400 for us plus tax because he has them and it's actually sitting at Atlantic Communications right now in Virginia. So they cut down the price, but they have no more. So if we need to order one, it's going to go back up to the regular price to order because now shipping's going through the roof. So we're not paying shipping for it either because he already has them. So it was, yeah, shipping's going through the roof for these things because they're built in Texas. And so that's where they haul them from.
Does your contact have the ability to get any training opportunities for learning more about, I mean, obviously
Oh,
you've
yeah,
already dived in, but,
He knows all, he'll
okay.
come and go
So he'll
over
come in and
everything.
give you some,
He showed us a lot about it that day, but to be honest with you, it was very over-consuming because there's a lot this thing
yeah, a
does.
lot to learn.
But it's actually, it's a pretty easy program. I've been reading through the book of how to program and do different things. Because this, not only can you put the one sign up there, you could leave one, but then it flips between two signs. And then it also goes to 3-line messages, so it fits a lot more than some of the ones did, so you can put bigger messages. But you don't want to put too much with traffic because you don't want
No.
people reading it.
Right.
So it flips through usually 2, and that's what he recommended to keep it at. But he'll do the training. They're pretty, yeah, he comes here all the time and meets with me.
And then he's available for like troubleshooting. You can give him a call.
Yeah,
that
he
kind
lives
of-
in Virginia Beach, but Stalker itself has a number that we can get up with about that because they're also our radar company.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Council,
The
any other
one that have
questions?
remaining is the 4x8.
the one we're going to get is the same size that's out there. It's the larger one. Yeah, the little one was a little too small.
You think it was too small?
I think it was.
I think that one's too big.
No,
I think bigger is better.
No, I like,
and
I like that one because you can't miss it. You see it if you
Yeah.
got your speed up there or whatever.
No one can say they didn't
And-
see it.
Yeah,
No, you can't. You're not. If you didn't see that, there's definitely something.
you got other problems.
Other than the sensors, is there a camera on it?
No, there's no.
That's my question.
MLPR.
Is there a camera in there?
Now there is an there is an opportunity to build one on there later on if we want to put an LPR on it. I did talk to him about that. So
You'll be
that
the
is
first one to
another
get
thing
caught,
later on
Matt.
we could put.
So when you place it, I mean, I guess the town has an easement or right of way
Yeah,
off the
it's in the
road.
right
So you
of
can
way.
just about place it in somebody's yard and say, this is going to be here.
I would try not to do that.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
But there's that 10 feet in there.
right, going in there.
They
But I
don't-
try not to also because of people backing out of driveways and things like that, seeing around it. What's nice is it goes a lot higher than you see.
Yeah.
I put it down at that height just because it's better to see, but you can actually put it up another, it's almost 3 feet up. So
Wow.
it goes pretty far up. So you can see underneath it. Like on NC 12, I would do that
Yeah.
for the driveways there so you can see past it.
Uh-huh.
So,
Welcome to Southern Shores. Stay on Route 12.
you know,
Something like that. And messaging is going to be important in the next
You
few
can
months.
Customize the message, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, bad here, don't turn left.
Any other questions, council?
Other than just like our high traffic season, I mean, you intend to see it put around town all the time?
I think it's great. I mean, we could put it in there. If we get a complaint, set it out on a road that we're getting a complaint and,
You can get the data that you need.
you know, you get a lot of data. And I like the stealth mode too, leaving it because people just think it's off. And when you collect the data to get some real-time data, because people going the other way aren't paying too much attention to it. That's why you saw a little bit of discrepancy in speeds. People
Yeah.
going away from it were going faster, which usually they're going faster the other way because of the hill. Near their Osprey, but it was slowing them down.
Is there an annual expense to this?
That's another thing I did not cover. Thanks for asking. There is nothing.
No annual
It's
expense?
free updates on the software, so that was a big plus.
And the solar panels last after,
They have the 5-year warranty, so
and after 5 years, are they, who knows the life on them? I'm sorry?
yeah, with some of these signs we've had out, the little ones, the solar panels, they've been out longer than that.
The battery will go before the panel.
I'm more
Battery
worried about the
goes, right?
trailer
Is that
than
what
I am
goes?
anything.
I'm sorry?
I'm more worried about the trailer.
Yeah,
'Cause everything
somebody
we have here rusts.
Driving into it.
Yeah.
But them
well,
covering that
rust.
5 years,
Yeah.
I return it.
It rusts.
So and
Yeah.
they need to fix it. So that's the
Okay.
good part.
Okay.
Is this, for this purchase, you need to make the decision like now?
There's one left, so
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
Our staff is recommending that the town purchase one of these trailers now and budget for a second one next year.
So I guess my question was, it says it out of this year's funds. Does that mean the allocated budget already?
Fund balance.
Fund balance.
Do we need,
Fund what?
yeah,
Do
What's
they
it
need
called?
to
Fund
Fund
what?
balance.
Fund balance.
yeah, because we don't have a budget amendment.
Fund balance?
Fund balance.
I have the exact number here
Okay.
for town manager.
If this was
This is
something
including tax, so.
you were to do tonight, we would need a budget amendment approved for $17,613.75.
17 what?
How much, what, Cliff? I'm sorry.
It would be for $17,613.75.
Cliff, not the taxes, that includes.
Oh, I'm
That
sorry.
includes tax, yes.
Yeah, but we don't, it would just be the expense.
16.5.
Yeah, we don't pay tax, right?
No, 16.5.
16.5?
Yep.
We do pay taxes, but we get it back at the end of the year, so that goes on the balance sheet and on the expense.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
it's a receivable.
Any other questions, council?
Nope.
Do I hear a motion to approve the purchase of a trailer for the use of message and also speed reduction potentially?
So moved.
I'll
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Ready to vote? All those in favor?
You need to add the amount and that it's coming from unassigned funds to your motion.
We'll have a
Well,
budget amendment the next time we meet.
Budget amendment.
Well, we can, or I think you can
Combine it?
adopt it tonight.
Excuse me. Let me amend can you amend your motion, Mark, to include a budget amendment in the amount of 16,500?
So amended.
Okay.
From unassigned.
And I'll second
From
it.
unassigned fund balance. Thank you.
And I'll second it a second time.
Second that. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Officer, Deputy Chief Slagle, for all your presentation and all your work on this. Appreciate it. Chief Cole, thank you very much.
I think the residents will appreciate this. It's just another way to slow people down.
Well, we already got an email,
Did you see the email at 3:30?
Only 2% are speeding excessively.
but we got an email from
It's
a
a
resident
percentage.
already complimenting us for that
Yeah.
tool being there.
Indeed. Any other public commenters? Thank you. Council business, start with Attorney Gallup.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to let the council know that I have learned during the meeting who the Federal Highway Administration.
That was
counsel will be.
fast, Ben. You did that on purpose.
The comment that I got was great timing from the person who sent it to me, but I will contact her sometime this week and see if I can talk to her about the appeal.
That's great. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah. Council comments? Leo, you want to kick us off?
I'll give you an update on tourism board on meal collections and occupancy. This is for the full 12 months. December was, believe it or not, we dropped in November, but December rebounded. Occupancy collections were up 61%. And for a current year to date is 34%. Our meals for the same period of December, month of December was up 49%. And current year to date is up 51%. Just two other things. One, the property managers say that we're going to have a robust summer, so that means we're going to have robust traffic. And they kind of see it maybe tapering off in the fall, but as one said, our quiet time is coming to an end. And one other thing, Tim Cafferty is a chair. When he was a chair the last time, he and Lee Nettles, he'll be asking for some time on on our agenda somewhere in the next few months to come give about a 10-minute presentation, I think, as what's happening in the tourism board. And there'll be time for questions if you got any. So you'll be seeing him show up, and that is all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. Matt?
No, thank you.
Mark?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Thank you. Our next meeting is actually a workshop.
Yeah, March
It's
9th.
this is something new for us. We're going to hang out with Chief Limbacher at the fire department, and we're looking forward to that. Thank you, Chief, for hosting us. It's on Wednesday, March the 9th. We'll kick it off at 9 a.m. Cliff, did you want to give us any other details, or?
We're looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it. It's a public meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Will it be live streamed?
We're not planning to live stream it.
Not planning to live stream it, okay. That's all I know about that. And then our next regular meeting will be a workshop meeting on
March 15th.
Tuesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. So lots of meetings in March. And then we have a beach nourishment meeting, correct, on Tuesday, March the 29th?
Yeah, I'm waiting for confirmation from.
If we get our consultant to agree that he can work that into his calendar.
And that was to be at 5 o'clock.
That was a 5 or 5:30 on the 29th, if we get with Ken Wilson. Okay, so we'll confirm that later. Is that all the announcements? Sheila, did I miss anything? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting for the evening.
I believe we are all agreed. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right.
I didn't know about the March 15th meeting.
It just came up. You gonna be gone?
I got